What is up, heroes? This is Midnight Zero, and welcome to another team building video. This is for week 8 of the SFL. We're going up against JP, coach of the Peniche Primarinas. And yes, you probably noticed right now, as I'm about to say, I'm tired, I'm pretty exhausted, a little stressed. This week has been a little bit hectic, so no, I've not had the time to make the art assets for a really nice and formal team building video. So I hope you guys are okay with this. Of course, it takes a little bit of suspicion out and everything, but I'll try to do it like I do in those videos. So first, over in the lower right corner, you can see his team members. He's got some really good mons. He's got Mega Gallade, he's got Toxapex, you know, a huge defensive threat. Actually, I guess I should go one by one, I guess. Mega Gallade, rocking a huge base 165 attack stat and decent, like base 115 special bulk, base 110 speed. It's really monstrous in the offensive side. Its only real Achilles heel is that it doesn't get access to very strong moves. It does get access to bulk up and SD. JP absolutely loves bulk up, drain punch, Zen headbutt, and coverage move Mega Gallade. Like, that is his thing. You'll see it's gonna be named Psyblade and everything. He's got Toxapex, which is so bulky on defensive and special sides. So this thing can run, you know, defensively or especially bulky. It's got access to Scald, Baneful Bunker, which is like a protect, except if you run into it, you get poisoned. It can set up toxic spikes, and it gets Regenerator, which is also really cool. Magnezone, of course, is there for trapping steel types, which is scary for a team that has Mega Scizor. Como is so-so, I think. It's decently bulky and decently mixed, but it doesn't get great access to a lot of moves, so it can't really capitalize off of its great offensive typing too. Doublade is pretty solid defensively. It can also be a setup sweeper with priority, stab, shadow sneak, and yeah, it's pretty bulky, especially with that Violate. Roserade can set up spikes and T-spikes. It can also run offensive set. It can also run Sleep Powder, which is really annoying, but, you know, not the end of the world, of course. Then there's Lycanroc Knight, which can hit decently hard, but more importantly is his only, like, real stealth rocker. So, yeah, he doesn't have a lot of great hazard removal. He's got some decent hazard setters, but nothing to remove him, but I'll get into that later. Incineroar hits hard, dark and fire, and he's got, you know, this access to a Z move. Not too afraid of it. It's not too fast, but it does hit pretty hard. Comfey is pretty bulky. It's not a great mon in my opinion, but once it starts setting up, it can be pretty threatening. Synthesis, Draining Kiss, Calm Mind, just kind of what it goes for. Rabombi is really fast and has a decent special attack stat. It is super frail though, of course, which is like the usual trade-off, so I'm not too worried. It's pretty straightforward with either Life Orb, Sash, the like, maybe Extra Repel with Quiver Dance. Dodrio, one of the mons that got buffed this generation. It's got base 110 attack and speed, making it a great Scarf user or Band user with access to a solid stab move in Brave Bird, Return, Knockoff, Pursuit, Quick Attack, and Priority. So it's actually a pretty solid mon. Gabite is pretty bulky, another rock setter, and access, of course, to Rough Skin to weaken physical attackers, but it can't really run Rocky Helmet at least nowhere near as effectively as its evolved form, Garchomp. And then lastly, Oricorio, which can mimic like dance moves, which is relevant for mons like Swords Dance, Infernape potentially, or Dragon Dance, Flygon. So it's worth keeping that in mind. Now, getting into my team, the first one I wanted to bring was Xurkitree. We're running Choice Scarf Xurkitree, and most of the speed tiers you see are if a Pokemon is fast enough. I wanted it to outspeed, like, Mega Gallade, but more importantly, Scarf Magnezone. Scarf Magnezone hits 360 speed, and so, sorry, a little under the weather, but I wanted most of my mons, if they're going to be offensive, which is most of my team, to outrun that bench 360 mark. So notice my speed lets me at 242, so when you multiply that by 1.5, you hit 363? 363, yeah. Because if you were, what's it called? When there's a decimal, Pokemon rounds down. So if I were to do 241 or 240, I would end up with 360 in speed tie, as opposed to what this is now. So yeah, that's that. The moveset: Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, Dazzling Gleam, and HP Ice. Thunderbolt hits just about everything really hard. His only ground type is Gabite, so if that's gone, I could very, very easily sweep with Thunderbolts. Thunderbolt does around 34 to 40 something to a Magnezone, to Scarf Magnezone. So really we're talking about a potential Thunderbolt sweep late game, especially once Roserade is weakened, if that's bulky. If not, I mean, this is doing 2/3 to Mega Gallade. It's, depending on the spread, doing 2/3 to Okoing Toxapex. It's doing a ton to Como. It does a lot to Lycanroc Knight. Like, Xurkitree has a solid chance of sweeping, especially after one Beast Boost. Volt Switch is there for momentum and building up damage. Dazzling Gleam is there in case I want to hit Mega Gallade particularly hard in one turn, and it also does like okay damage to some of the members on his team, but it also hits Gabite really hard if I don't want to play around with predictions with Thunderbolt. Similarly, Hidden Power Ice, it hits a different set of mons hard than like Dazzling Gleam. So for example, Roserade, what's it called? Mostly Roserade, actually. And then, of course, Dodrio and Gabite and Oricorio. So if I want to lock myself into Hidden Power Ice as opposed to Dazzling Gleam, it would be because his team composition mainly consists of those mons. And that's really all there is to it. Enough speed, outspeed Scarf Magnezone, max special attack, and the rest goes into HP to tank hits potentially better, of course, while dealing with Rock's numbers. And with that, we move on to our next member of the team, which is Gengar, running Scarf Gengar. Yes, we're running dual Scarfers again this week. I actually really liked having it from an offensive standpoint last week against Noah. But this week, we're going all offensive. Sludge Wave, Shadow Ball, Psychic, Dazzling Gleam. Now, a lot of that coverage seems redundant, but really it made sense to put all those mons, or all those moves on this mon rather than anything else I could think of. Shadow Ball does a ton to Mega Gallade. Psychic does 2/3 to Toxapex. Shadow Ball 2-hit KOs Magnezone. Dazzling Gleam, Oko's Como. Sludge Wave does a ton to Roserade. Shadow Ball, like, so many of these moves do a lot of damage to a lot of his team, and the coverage enables me to allow myself better options to lock myself into a move, so I'm not having to switch out as often and can potentially set up for a late game sweep with Gengar. Of course, the speed is there to outspeed his faster Scarfers, like, I think, not Rabombi, of course, but he has a base 93 attacker. I don't exactly remember what it is off the top of my head. It might be Como. I think it's Como or Oricorio. I think it's Oricorio that's base 93 speed. So this allows me to outspeed Oricorio, which is pretty cool, after like at +1 or if it's Scarf or the like. But yeah, the rest goes into Spadef and then HP for Rocks because I anticipate taking more special hits. I used to just dump everything in HP and then whatever was left over after hitting a Rocks, like a Stealth Rock number, I would invest in defense or Spadef based on what I anticipate to take. But I don't plan on taking any physical hits with Gengar, so it makes sense to invest more in Spadef. I'll actually do better overall. Or be able to take hits better if I invest in Spadef as opposed to the same amount of EVs invested in HP, actually, even though that would help out with defense investment as well, or defensive like hits. But no, I only really anticipate taking Spadef hits potentially from Toxapex, like a Scald, maybe a Roserade's Leaf Storm, maybe a Comfey's Draining Kiss, something like that. So moving on to the next mon, we got Infernape. I love Infernape. It's great in the League format. And this week we're running Expert, Expert Belt with max attack and a decent amount of speed. Again, the speed is there to outspeed his base 93 or Oricorio. The Stealth Rock is there for chip damage, which is always super helpful. I don't know how often we'll get the chance to get our Stealth Rock up, because JP doesn't like to switch a lot, and I'll get to that towards the end. But Earthquake is there primarily to hit Magnezone, to hit Toxapex. Again, the coverage is a little redundant, but again, like, you know, Komida, Xurkitree, and Gengar, it helps out with late game potentially hitting certain mons that he could bring. Close combat, you know, hits Magnezone, Earthquake hits Magnezone. Flamethrower does a decent amount to Mega Gallade, actually, which is really cool. And I don't have to worry about bulk up, boosting his defense, and potentially setting up on me as much. Como does not like close combat. Doublade does not like a flamethrower. Roserade does not like a flamethrower. Lycanroc does not like a close combat. Incineroar doesn't like a close combat or an earthquake. Comfey doesn't like an earthquake. Rabombi doesn't like flamethrower. Dodrio doesn't like close combat. Like, there are a lot of ways I can hit his team with this Infernape. So I'm looking to just do a lot of damage. You'll also notice that a lot of times I'm investing in a lot in SPDEF or defense as opposed to HP based on what types of attacks I anticipate taking. I'm anticipating potentially taking flash cannons or, again, leaf storms with this mon, or maybe even bug buzzes. So that's why I have a lot in SPDEF. Also, the lower HP I have, the lower HP Mega Gallade would recover from a Drain Punch on this Pokemon. So I kept that in mind, of course, as well. Next mon is Tapu Fini. I'm actually really starting to like Tapu Fini a lot more. It's not like a setup sweeper to like win. It's not something that lives super long because it doesn't have reliable recovery, but it's something that tanks hits so well. It's very, if I had to guess or compare it to something, it's very similar to Heatran. Yeah, it's very similar to Heatran, more so than any other type of mon I've played with. But regardless, a lot of HP. A lot of HP. Probably what's most surprising at first is the speed investment, and that's so that I outspeed a max speed Magnezone. Sorry, I'm tired. So we outspeed Magnezone, so we can at least get damage off on that if we need to, if we want to set up for a sweep maybe with Xurkitree later on. We just need a little bit of chip damage to put in Thunderbolt range. We can do that with Surf. The defense is there so that we take on Mega Gallade, potentially Zen Headbutts or Poison Jabs. We don't get 2-hit KO'd by either of those, and we do a lot with Moonblast. We also set up on Toxapex easy. We can taunt that thing so it scalds us. It can't even burn us. It's got horrible special attack. We can Calm Mind up on it. It's gonna be great. Magnezone, we can actually even take on after a Calm Mind, which is really cool. This is a great switch into Como as well. We definitely scare that thing out. We can fire off a Moonblast, which is really nice. Roserade, of course, scares us out, but this thing also even takes on Doublade decently, which is really cool. And we can take on a +2 Iron Head, does a little under half to us, unless it's really, really offensive. But we can taunt it to prevent it from continually SDing, and then hit it with some Surfs to do some damage, of course. It also is a solid counter to Incineroar, which is something I'm worried about. Also, it's helpful with Comfey because it prevents it from using Synthesis or Calm Mind to boost up its like pretty bad special attack, and we can Calm Mind up alongside it, so we'll eventually essentially outpower it. This is also helpful for Ribombee because our natural SPDEF bulk is already solid enough to potentially take a hit or two from Ribombee, maybe Taunted to prevent it from Quiver Dancing up, or Surf to just get some damage off. And this also helps out with Gabite quite a bit. So yeah, Tapu Fini, one of my few, if only, switch-ins really. I'm looking to get some defensive play out of this and to potentially stop some of his setup sweepers. Next mon we got is Flygon. The last two mons I was really not 100% sure on. I was considering Ditto Shedinja, I was considering Mega Scizor Shedinja, I was considering Flygon Shedinja, a lot of different things, but you'll see, of course, why I have the mons I do. We're rocking max attack, almost max speed. Again, this is just to outspeed the relevant mons at +1. We're rocking Life Orb to just do a ton of damage. We 2-hit KO Mega Gallade before it bulks up with Earthquake. We hit Toxapex super hard, we hit Magnezone super hard. Having a ground immunity means he can't spam electric type attacks with Magnezone, which is really important. And yeah, this thing Dragon Dances up and then just hits stuff super hard, whether it's Roserade with Earthquake, Doublade with Earthquake, Como with Dragon Claw, Magnezone with Earthquake, Toxapex with Earthquake, Incineroar with Earthquake, Comfey with Earthquake, Ribombee, that's like one of the few exceptions, with Earthquake. Yeah, this thing hits everything super hard, and it will occasionally find a chance to Dragon Dance, but depending on whether or not I need to keep a little bit more health on some of my mons, I might want to get rid of Rocks or his Toxic Spikes or his Spikes, depending on which hazards he brings. So that's why I figured Defog also might be very situationally helpful as well. I invested a lot in defense so that I potentially take Drain Punches from Mega Gallade better, because he might be in a situation where Flygon is in against Mega Gallade, and I might actually even go for, if I'm at +1, an Earthquake to try to hit him pretty hard, and if I bait him into going for Ice Punch as opposed to Drain Punch, we actually live like an unboosted Drain Punch, which is really helpful. And we can also scout for if he has Ice Punch, which means he wouldn't have Poison Jab, or it might mean he doesn't have Shadow Sneak, because Mega Gallade has great coverage options, and they work really well against a lot of my mons, but I'll probably have to scout for which ones he actually decides to bring. And then the last mon is Drapion, running Black Black Sludge with Battle Armor. It's a very, very defensive set. Again, this is to help this is to help out with Mega Gallade. It's to help with Como. It's to help a lot with Doublade and maybe even Dodrio, but more so than anything, it toxics things, wear them down over time. Mega Gallade can't keep up by Drain Punching this thing or bulking up with Toxic and Protect, and then Knock Off to get rid of items, get rid of recovery over time. Earthquake is there particularly for Magnezone and for Toxapex, which he might bring in on this. This is also really helpful for Incineroar and Lycanroc. So yeah, this is also helpful for Comfey. If it's still setting up and not that strong, I can Toxic it, and that will help out a ton. So it's pretty straightforward. Now, to talk about JP as well, I'm not a huge fan of playing against JP because he doesn't have a lot of rhyme or reason to why he makes a lot of the plays he does. He's very much send him on in, set up, and try to win type of player. So I scouted a bunch of his replays. He almost always brings his Z moves. So he has a Ghostium Z that he loves to put on Roserade. He loves to bring Malicious Moonsault with Incineroar. And he loves bringing his Bulk Up Mega Gallade. And those are like his mainstays. He brings Lycanroc Knight if he wants rocks. And sometimes he brings Roserade for other hazards. But almost every mon he brings, he just sends it in. And if it's a healthy mon, he tries to start setting up and winning. And it's really frustrating because it's not usually the best play. But sometimes it works out. And yeah, I lost to JP last season. That was mostly because of my misplay. I've gone into it and thought about it so many times. I misplayed with my Salamence on the Lilligant and everything. But I want to make sure that I can stop his setup sweepers. And I'm going to play pretty aggressively, anticipating him to try to set up on a lot of things. That said, I really can't predict whether or not he's going to try and change his playstyle a little bit to try to play at my level or not, or if he's just going to send things in and try to go for Z moves as soon as he can, or try to set up Calm Minds with Comfey, whether it's a Quiver Dance with Rabombi, whether it's a Dragon Dance with Como, whether it's Bulk Ups with Mega Gallade. He loves to set up, and so I'm going to do my best to try to prevent that from happening. That's why I got Toxic, that's why I got Protect on certain mons. Also, the Drapion is there to help out with the Ghostium Z from the Roserade, and then potentially scare it out by knocking it off for Earthquake, which will do some solid damage, and we resist both Poison and Grass type attacks. So, as far as playoffs go, we are actually guaranteed a playoff spot at this point if we win both of our remaining matches, and Noah beats Sam this week. We will actually be first place, which is super cool. So that's what I'm going for at this moment. If not, if any of those conditions don't fall through, I think the worst we get is third place, and we'll make the playoffs and have to play Noah again, which is scary, of course. But either way, I hope you guys are rooting for me, and I hope you guys are excited for the battle. But until then, this is Midnight Zero, and this mission is complete.